You all right? Back there? Okay. I hope you all had time to get lunch. First question, can anyone who doesn't speak Romanian raise their hands? English it is? Okay, so I hope you have some energy left after lunch, because in the next 20 minutes I'm gonna talk a lot. So get ready for that. My name is Vlad Bisceanu. I'm the team lead of the CRO team at 2Checkout, and I'm here today to tell you a bit about how we work at 2Checkout and how our CRO team gets involved in the business decisions of the company. So first things first, for those of you who don't have access to the internet and don't know who 2Checkout is, we are an online payments business solution. We specialize in helping customers from around the globe sell their products online. We work with around 17,000 clients from literally every industry you can imagine, from SaaS, software as a service, to clothes and even online flower shops. We transaction in 200 countries. Last year we had around 40 million transactions. Next year I think that the number will double from our expectations. For all those fancy numbers to be possible, we have a team of 400 members. Actually, I think there's more now. In 4 offices around the globe, Romania, US, India, and Amsterdam. But none of this would be possible without a monstrous amount of coffee. So I actually think this number is quite low, because I account for half of that this month. But yeah, we don't function on solar energy yet. So I don't know, coffee going up. Okay, so now that you are familiar with what 2Checkout is, let's talk a bit about what the CRO team does at 2Checkout. CRO as in conversion rate optimization. Traditionally speaking, you might refer to a CRO team as the team that's running the A/B tests, and that's true, we do that, but that's not all. So our focus at 2Checkout is to make sure that the main frame in which clients get to customers, that is the checkout page, it's in the name, 2Checkout, is optimized as best as we can. So it can be this is an example of a checkout page, right? It can be a digital product, it can be a VPN, it can be a antivirus, MacBook in-app checkout page, Windows in-app checkout page. So regardless of the form of this, as long as the checkout page, it is our goal to make sure that no money are left on the table by optimizing the purchase experience. We do this at product level, so by working with the other departments in our business to make sure that all the features that we release are up to the industry standards. And we do this by working directly with customers, agency style, like on A/B test projects. Our team consists of web analytics and CRO experts, so we're a mixed team. And we did this inside of the same team because we wanted to make sure that we can close the loop. So we learned something in a test, we apply it at product level. This way we use all the resources that we have effectively. Okay, so in the few minutes that we have, I don't think we will get the time to go in depth on any topic, but what I want to do is kind of get your interest so that we can have discussions afterwards. So I'm going to go through some principles that we're using in our day-to-day work. I'm sure that most of you are already using some of them or are aware of them. But I think it's great to get them listed and get the conversation started on them because they are really important things. So the first one, and it's details change everything. I'm going to walk you through an example of how we learned this for it to make a bit more sense. So recently we were A/B testing 3 checkout page templates. So we had control, we had variation 1, variation 2. You don't need to worry about what's different on here. Unfortunately, I won't have the time to go into details, but we can talk a bit more about this afterwards. Point is, after 1 month of gathering data, all the 3 variations were break-even, which is kind of the worst thing you can see when running an A/B test, right? Because it means you invested 2 months of development in this case and 1 month of gathering data to find out absolutely nothing. Of course, because the conversion rate difference was so small, we didn't have statistical significance. And we were ready to admit our defeat and move on. But before that, we wanted to actually, I thought it's interesting that the difference is so small, because in nature you don't see such small differences and say, yeah, that's normal. So I wanted to look at as many segments as I could and understand where the problem, if any problem, is. So I looked at different devices like desktop versus mobile versus tablet. I looked at different payment methods because one thing that we've noticed when experimenting with the checkout page is that usually different payment methods behave really differently, like PayPal versus credit card. And then I also looked at a breakdown by country in our top 3 markets, in this customer's top 3 markets actually. And this is where I found something really interesting. In Germany, the customer's top market, around 30% of the total traffic was from Germany. Variation 1 won with a 50.81% improvement. In Italy, the second market, variation 2 was leading with 12% improvement. And in Switzerland, their third market, control was leading with 11 improvement. Variation 1, variation 2, and control. Are you seeing it? So that's why globally we were seeing literally no improvement. But there are 2 ways in which we can interpret this. You either say, yeah, we have a break-even test, let's wrap this up into something else. Or you go into detail, you take your time and look at the data and say, we have 3 winning A/B tests with quite a large improvement. 15% is not to be passed on. So my point with this example is always take your time and make sure the conclusion you're taking is with certainty the one that you wanna believe and move forward. Please.
Were you able to kind of, tie down these differences in some cultural flavor?
Yeah, we did.
Or something?
We did. Really quick. It's mostly because Germany prefers PayPal as the payment method, while the other 2 countries prefer credit card as the main one. So yeah, we do have some theories on that. Again, so I think this is a public case study that I can actually send you, and then we can look into it afterwards. But yeah, you are really right, and I think that ties really nicely in the second thing that I want to discuss. And it's why is more important than what. And to drive this example, recently we ran an A/B test where we added an upsell before the checkout page. For those of you who don't know, the upsell is basically a middle page between the product page and the checkout page, where we're basically saying, get this more expensive product. We do this to increase the average order value. This is how the upsell looked like. Really simple page. You wanna guess on the results of this test? You have really nothing to guess on, but So it failed catastrophically. 15% lower conversion rate and 10% lower average order value, which is like worst of both worlds. Obviously, after seeing this, the client wanted to like shut this down and never hear of an upsell again, which is understandable. But before that, we really wanted to understand why this happened. Why were we seeing so bad results? After watching around 700 user recordings, it wasn't a pleasant thing. We realized that a lot of the users weren't really understanding what we want from them on that page. They were thinking that the internet, I don't know, some sorcery happened and they ended up on a page which wasn't related to their order. So instead of burning down the upsell and never speaking of it again, we redid the test, same exact page, but we added a mention which said you will be redirected to your order after a few moments. So this is the new one. Do you want to guess on the results? You don't? Okay. 7% conversion rate increase and 12% average order value increase. So the two results are the difference between having a business and having a really high debt, right? So this is huge for one sentence. From my point of view, any test is a winner as long as if you can learn something from it. So it lost, okay, but why did it lose? And what we can do for it to win next time? At the end of the day, we're trading revenue for knowledge, which is a good deal. Okay, the last thing I want to discuss today. This might seem a bit general and out of nowhere, but I think it's really important. I think it's actually one of the most important things for CRO and analytics persons. And I'm going to tell you about one of my first tasks at 2Checkout. Someone came to me and asked me, what do we know about our load time? As in, how fast does our page load? Okay, like a good analytics person, I went ahead and analyzed the data. I went ahead and built a report based on that data. And then I came up with a conclusion. We can do better, was my conclusion at that point. How much revenue do you think this flow here generated for 2Checkout?
$1 million.
0. Because reports don't generate revenue. This is something that we usually, as data people, tend to forget. And Excel won't give you money. It's a really powerful tool, but it's a powerful tool to allow you to take action and generate money. So in this example, what I did when I saw that our load time can be better was I started a special team that makes sure that our load time stays competitive and is always as low as possible. And that's actually what generated $1 million you were talking about. So data is awesome, data is power, but only if you do something with it. By itself, it's just numbers, and it's informative, but it's not something to change. Taking action based on data is what makes the difference. And because you guys in this room have the data, you have the power to take action. So I encourage you to go to your business's stakeholders and make sure that they act on the data you provide them. Just a quick recap. So we talked about details changing everything. Don't send data to anyone if you're not sure about it. I've seen tens of examples where someone's sending data because they have a deadline and that data turns out to be wrong because of a missing dot or something like that a few weeks in. And a few weeks in is usually too long to fix it. Why is more important than what, so always try to understand why data is the way it is. This test lost is really saying nothing. This test lost because of that, and we can do X to win next time, is a statement that will provide revenue. And always take action based on your data. That was pretty much it for me. I think we have some time left for questions, which is why I kind of sped through this. Please go ahead if you have any questions.
So I have a question.
Please.
I was curious, how did you manage to demonstrate in your company the 1 million part? Like in that part. It's really important for us as data people to know how to help sometimes the other teams and generate that 1 million more ones.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Thank you.
And I don't know how many of you saw Claudia's presentation on stories based on data a bit earlier. That really that ties in nicely to this. So from my experience, getting the data is not the hard part because we do have access to it. So we can get an estimation based on conversion rate and missing numbers to say something like if the load time would be 2 seconds lower, then we would see on average a 10% higher conversion rate. But the important thing is to get to this statement and send the statement forward, not the spreadsheet. Because usually what happens is if you send the spreadsheet to a stakeholder, a manager, let's say, they will focus on, I don't know, one thing from that spreadsheet, which is not your point. So always try to translate spreadsheets to normal functional being language. So try to, I don't know, send an email instead of the spreadsheet and say, so I did this analysis and I believe we can do that, which ties into taking action again. I hope I answered your question. Anything else?
In your upsell example, so for the second upsell page where the results were good, were those results compared to the first experiment or to the page that didn't have the upsell?
They were compared to the baseline, the one that didn't have, because we didn't want to see the fail again. So
I was just curious.
Yeah.
This ties in with the second question. How do you keep from getting bias in your analysis? Because maybe a client has a problem, and maybe you're focused on that problem, and you want to find that problem, but maybe it's not that. I don't know.
yeah, well, the short answer to the question, how do you keep from getting biased, is you don't. But to kind of find a workaround for that, I found kind of try to keep objective by looking at data correlated with other data you've seen. So yeah, if you get really focused into one client, you might end up focusing on something that brings the clients 1K per year, while in that time you could have worked on something that brings him 10 times more. So try to compare with other things you've done and seen that brought other increases. But I mean, I don't think it's possible to be 100% not biased. It's just you're biasing yourself towards something else, basically. Anyone else?
I have a question regarding the option test.
Sure.
You told that you reviewed all these session recordings, and I'm curious, how were you able to pinpoint the exact friction that users stumbled upon? I mean, the problem that I faced is that when I look at the videos, all I see is that users just maybe scroll a page or maybe just bounce immediately. And I'm curious, were you able to identify the issue. Thanks.
So, you're not talking really loudly, so let me ask you, if your question is how did you manage to pinpoint that the issue was users not understanding what we want from them on that page?
Yeah, kind of, just by analyzing the video recordings.
Video recordings are actually a really great tool for understanding what doesn't work. We basically looked at a converting visitor, right? So a recording of someone who purchased the offset, which is our best case, is what we want. And then we compare that with the patterns of the ones who didn't. So by finding those differences, we kind of understand what's not happening and should happen. And what we saw in this example was that a lot of users were actually scrolling through the page a bit and then exiting because they didn't understand what we wanted from them. Of course, this was an assumption, so it wasn't like we knew for sure. It was our best guess, because that's what you do in A/B testing. You best guess, and then you test to see if that's true. For why the conversion rate was lower and the average error value.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mai puteți arăta puțin slide-ul cu upsell-ul în checkout? Era unul.
Absolutely.
Avea o pagină la un moment dat după acele 4 cadrane cu variantele de upsell, before and after checkout. Era o voză cu 35% parcă, nu era cu upsell acolo.
To address this, I think we're actually going to share the version of this with you later. So whatever you want to see, you can. Awesome. Okay, so before I go, really quick, for those of you who haven't been approached by my colleague yet, Anka, yeah, she will. We have some contests running in which you can win something really cool. And besides that, we also have some job openings in the CRO team. So if you guys found anything that we discussed about interesting, we welcome and we invite you to continue the discussion and maybe even work together at 2Checkout. Thanks a lot for your time and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.